Bayern Munich barely break a sweat to send Barcelona packing. Chelsea stumble in St. Petersburg, and snow in Bergamo prolongs the fight to qualify from Group F. The Champions League group stage is not quite over, but for 30 of the 32 teams involved, it is. I'm here with Jimmy Conrad and James Benj to look back on the good, the bad, the ugly, the snowy from Wednesday's matches. Que Golazo, Champions League recap, the end, or sort of the end, with an asterisk. Group stage begins right now. Hey, everybody, welcome to Que Golazo. Thank you so much for being part of the family. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word. And we want your comments. We want your questions. James Benj and Jimmy Conrad, they are geniuses. Geniuses, I tell you, and they'll answer anything that you want to know. And also, please, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify later on, don't forget to leave a rating and review. But please send those comments in. If you're a Barcelona fan, I want to hear from you. Definitely, by the way. So thank you so much for being part of the family. Jimmy Conrad wearing Barcelona. I'm going to sell this on eBay for $5. How are you, bud?
I am doing great because my bold prediction ahead of the Champions League, my big shock was that Barcelona would drop into the Europa League and Benfica would finish second. And I was right. So I'm patting myself on the back, even though I am wearing a Barcelona jersey. I did it to jinx him, okay? I did it
well done. Well done, Jimmy Con. You did. And so did our producer, Des Norris. Des is always reminding us, and I'm scared that if I don't say anything, he'll just completely delete us. James Benj, haven't seen you in a while, buddy. How are you?
It's good to be back. Yeah, I'm also feeling good about some predictions. I feel like what you do is you just talk about the ones you got right. And some of us said that Salzburg would get out of their group and Karim Adeyemi would be the star.
You did. I read it. Well done, James Benj.
But people think that's cleverer than it is, because actually the secret to this is just every year just pick the best young player at Salzburg. We'll all like get massively excited about it. And just I tweet about them loads.
I love it. I love it. So well done. See, I told you, everybody. Geniuses, I tell you, today. And we want to answer all your questions, and send in your questions and your comments and keep them coming, because this is the asterisk, almost the end of the group stages of the Champions League. We'll talk about that in a second with Atalanta and Villarreal. But let's begin where the storm really just kept on brewing and the mountain just became Everest for Barcelona as they lost 3-0 to Bayern Munich. Not many of us really thought otherwise. Actually, it could have been more, to be quite honest. I thought it should have been like 5-0 to Bayern Munich. But Barcelona, for the first time since 2000 and 2001, failed to make the Champions League. Jimmy Conrad, I'm going to ask you something before you chime in. They failed to make it. I hope you didn't read my tweets, but who were in their group and how did they come third? Who came first and second in that group in 2000, 2001?
Oh, I didn't read your tweets.
Okay, sweet. One of them is an Italian club.
2000, 2001, probably Juventus, and I'll go with like Dinamo Zagreb or something.
Well, I was gonna say, if you get the second one, amazing. James Benj, did you read my tweet? Did you read it?
No, but I don't know. I just have a feeling that it was Fiorentina.
Oh,
is this
so
just
close?
It's just that period where Gabriel Batistuta was like romping through
with the Nintendo jerseys. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was the end of his era, right? But no, it was AC Milan, and guess who came second? Leeds United. David O'Leary's Leeds United. Mark Viduka, Alan Smith, Harry Kewell, Lucas Radebe. They went to the semifinals in 2000, 2001. But enough about Leeds, everybody. Barcelona, Jimmy Conrad, fail, as you mentioned, of course, O'Leary's babies. That's right, Des Norris. Listen, Jimmy, you called it. Well done, sir. So the floor is yours. Barcelona are out. Obviously, this is terribly symbolically from a playing perspective, but financially, my goodness, talk to me.
Well, what I'll say first and foremost is that I made this prediction thinking that Ronald Koeman was still going to be in charge. And when Xavi came in, there was still a glimmer of hope that they could get out of the group. And when they didn't take their chances against Benfica on match day 5 at home is when you could tell. I mean, to go to Germany against a Bayern team, even if they rolled out a second team, wasn't going to be enough. They needed to get that result against Benfica at home, and they didn't do it. And I knew that was the kiss of death. And yes, I was still sweating it a little bit, but I knew that things would come good after 90 minutes. And sure enough, my big fear for Barcelona, if you're a fan of this club, I don't think you're good enough to win the Europa League. And so there are bigger problems here. It's not like you drop into a lesser competition and now you're the favorite. Now I look at Borussia Dortmund when Erling Haaland's there and he's healthy and he's ready to go. I give them an outside chance of being a significant threat in the Europa League. But when I look at Barcelona, I don't, because I don't know where their goals are going to come from. and they still don't look very good defensively. And Xavi's got a lot of work to do with this team. And I'm curious to see, because a lot's going to change for all these teams that we talk about. We have 2 months until the knockout rounds begin. So there's a January transfer window in there, and there's plenty of time for guys, significant players to get hurt. And so there's a lot that could change. But as it pertains to Barcelona, I don't know if they can make enough moves in Barcelona, especially without any, or in the transfer window without any money to do anything that's going to change anything. Xavi's got his work to do. He's earning his paycheck for sure.
And the funny thing is, it's not impossible that the Europa League ends up being their best route back into the Champions League.
That's great. I mean, that's great. Great insight.
There are some good teams that are going to be have got a bit of an advantage on them in La Liga. It really. So I didn't think they were dreadful early on, but as Jimmy said, the real issue here is there's no one to put the ball in the net. Ousmane Dembele is running the lines, trying to create chances for himself, and I thought Dembele again was pretty good for a player that's played about 100 minutes of football this year. But Memphis has fallen off a cliff edge. I think there's just too much asked of him. And, aside from that, it's Ansu Fati, kids, and no one. I mean, I'm with Jimmy that I look at this team and say, are they in the top 5 contenders? You've got a clutch of good, German teams. You've got Napoli, probably West Ham.
Yeah,
I would take every one of those teams that I've just mentioned there and a fair few others, and I would put them ahead of Barcelona if they don't make real changes. None of this is on Xavi. The team played better tonight than it has done in previous Champions League
None
games.
of it, James. None of it at all. They were pretty dreadful.
What are you supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
With these raw materials? And I mean, and Jordi Alba. You felt when Jordi Alba went down as well. It was like, right, that's a huge attacking outlet.
And look what Samuel Jackson did in Coach Carter. He did the best out of it.
Maybe that's what they need, Coach Carter.
Yeah, that's true. You do make a good point there. What can you do with these players? Here's a call to action for everybody. How far will Barcelona go in the Europa League? Jimmy, you mentioned it. Obviously, Borussia Dortmund. Hey, Sevilla, they lose to win, baby. They lose to win. Talk to me about Barcelona. How far can they go? And then James, I want you to chime in as well.
It's tough. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you drop down from the Champions League, I don't think you play the number one seed from a group. You play round of 32, but you'll go play against a second seed if I'm not mistaken.
Which are still tough.
Yeah, but you get Olympiacos, Rangers, PSV Eindhoven would be very difficult.
Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's Rangers.
You got Lazio. Lazio might be there with Maurizio Sarri. You got Real Betis, who have been very good under Pellegrini.
Quarterfinals? You get Barcelona quarterfinals?
Napoli or Leicester could be somebody you face in the round of 32. I could see them getting bounced in the round of 16 when they actually have to face one of the top teams in one of these groups, or another team that maybe fell out of the Champions League. This Barcelona team over 2 legs, I think, can get found out. And maybe in a one-off, I maybe give them more of a chance. Maybe not, but in 180 minutes, I just don't know. I don't have any faith in this team right now. And when Jordi Alba went out, great point by Benj, they put out another center back. So for the majority of the game, they had Araujo, center back, Lenglet, center back, Piqué, center back, and then Mingueza. And you're not going to get anything going if you don't have any balance. Like, you can kind of go up and down the field. And so they've got a lot of issues, man. And I don't think it's going to get solved anytime soon.
So it's quite funny. While Jimmy was saying that, I went on 538. Obviously, nothing's perfect. Very analytical approach to it. It should be pointed out that they were saying from day one, Ajax are real contenders, and I think we're all starting to say that now. They make Barcelona favourites to win the Europa League. I don't quite agree with that.
No, not even close.
I don't think so.
I think there is definitely raw materials in that midfield to create chances, but I do think it comes down to who scores the goals over 2 legs. So I'm probably maybe more optimistic than Jimmy, but it really does depend on the luck of the draw. I think quarterfinals, they've done pretty well. Semi-finals, I mean, who knows from there on out? But yeah, they need a striker. They need someone that's going to score 15 goals.
That's true, and they don't have that. You got Sevilla that's dropping in, Borussia Dortmund that's dropping in. You're going to have Atalanta or Villarreal that's dropping in.
Porto.
You got Porto who's dropping in. I mean, you have some. You got Sheriff. Let's put some respect on Sheriff's name. They're dropping in. And RB Leipzig, who have the talent, if they get it figured out, aren't going to be easy to beat over 2 legs. So I actually like a lot of those other teams before I'd say Barcelona are the team that are going to go on to win the Europa League. So 538's smoking something. Fucking nice.
Smoking 538. Yeah, absolutely right. But listen, I just unbelievable. By the way, Bayern Munich are the third team to complete a perfect group stage this season. Liverpool and Ajax, of course. Before this season, only 6 teams had managed to do that. Bayern 19 and then 2019-2020 season, Real Madrid, Barcelona again, Spartak Moscow, PSG, and AC Milan in the early 90s. That was a sexy AC Milan team. And Benfica, by the way, took care of business, 2-0 against Dynamo. So well done, Benfica. Before we move on, I did want to ask you, aside from Barcelona, because Bayern did win, Bayern are amazing, and Bayern have gone up my power rankings, everybody. I would go as far as telling them right now, number 1. I think Bayern Munich are the best team in the Champions League. I want to hear from both of you. James Bench, what do you think?
Well, I mean, my power rankings are the ones that get published on CBSSports.com.
Yes, so you stand on print, my friend. It's ink with blood.
I've had them and City rotating for a little while. The challenge with Bayern, I think, is I've not really seen them play many good teams. But they have to be. They are in that. I think there's an elite club of 3 teams at the maybe Chelsea, so City, Liverpool, and Bayern that are, if you don't reach the semi-finals at the very least, this is a real failure based on the squad you've got.
Chelsea conceded 3 goals consecutively there, James Benz. Does that worry you, or does it matter?
Not really, but a little bit. Certainly not great. But for Bayern, I think anything less than reaching the final is a massive disappointment. This is such a good team that, it's got to be about getting within 90 minutes of the trophy for them.
Yep.
I would say Bayern Munich for sure. City, I was disappointed in their performance against RB Leipzig. It just felt listless in a way that I didn't expect, given that they came in with 7-game winning streak. De Bruyne is coming back into the team. Some of the other players, Grealish in particular, are starting to get some minutes and get to start right from the get-go. So I'm not as high, let's say, on Man City at the moment. Liverpool, though, and Bayern Munich are maybe the top 2 that I'm looking at. Madrid, I think, are quietly sneaking around. They only gave up 3 goals in 6 group stage games. If Benzema comes back and they're playing in full power, they look very good. So I wouldn't sleep on Madrid. But Liverpool had the hardest group. Atletico Madrid, FC Porto, and AC Milan. And not only did they win the group, they smashed the group. They crushed them. 6 wins out of 6 games. And there were a couple nervy moments where Milan did have them with their backs against the wall at Anfield on match day 1. But outside of a little bit of that, they were always in control. And it really speaks to what they look like when they're healthy. So I think Liverpool are kind of my number 1 in the power rankings, with Bayern Munich a very, very close second. It's only because of that strength of schedule and also how tough their group was. Whereas to Benja's point, Bayern Munich, maybe their group, Barcelona's not on pace. They put 5 against Benfica at home and 5 against Dynamo Kiev. Liverpool's just had to fight a little bit more in a different way. So I like Liverpool actually at the moment.
Yeah, no, fair play. Listen, I know Des, I was about to bring up Ajax, and I always said, by the way, Ajax are amazing. I love them so much. But their group, if we're going to have this argument, wasn't that difficult, with all due respect. I mean, Jimmy, back to you, and then James, you add, but what do you give Ajax in this situation? They are amazing, but I want to see them play like, a Bayern, for example, or a City, or a Chelsea, or a Liverpool. What do you think?
Well, we're listing off the names of teams that finished in second. Like, it could be Ajax PSG round of 16. It could be
that would be sexy.
It could be Ajax Inter Milan. Like, we're gonna get some really good matchups. I just want to state for the record, actually, that I think it's going to be Manchester United versus PSG round of 16, because they want Ronaldo versus Messi for the last time if they can get it, and squeeze as much money out of everybody in TV as possible. I'm just throwing my conspirity theory out there as soon as possible. Okay, I'm taking dibs on that.
PSG needs, it's more money in their bank.
I'm taking dibs on that prediction, by the way. But with regard to Ajax, they're not a team I'd want to face. Obviously, 6 wins out of 6 games. They have that final piece that I think they were lacking last season because they didn't get his paperwork done in time. Sebastian Aller, or not done in time. They just made a mistake. And they got Onana back in goal, which I think makes a big difference. So now you've got some stability in 2 very key areas of the field. And in 2 months, Onana's only going to get more and more sharp and getting back his rhythm with the team. And Erik ten Hag, obviously a top manager. If they can stay healthy, I think they have a nice blend of players, and they got a little bit of depth that over 2 legs are going to be very difficult to beat. But they're like the best team in like the tier 2 for me I think you have the Liverpool. I think you have Bayern Munich. City's probably in there. Maybe
Chelsea.
Real Madrid, but then that tier 2 team that I think could make a run at it. Maybe Chelsea too, obviously is defending champs, but that tier 2 team I think would be number 1 would be Ajax, and then you start to throw some of the other clubs in there too.
Yeah, I had them 5th behind.
Yeah, that sounds right.
The big 4 that we can all kind of guess who they are. I just think the football they play is fantastic. Yeah. I think in the end, let's say they drew PSG. I'm going to put my, I know Jimmy wants his. I want Ajax PSG.
That would be awesome.
I would back Ajax every single time because they're a team, and they're a team with complementary, interchangeable parts. Say Anthony goes down, in comes David Neres, fantastic yesterday. I mean, maybe but we've seen Dusan Tadic do great work as a false 9 there. This team it's a really special group of players. I really like them, and I think they are going to be there or thereabouts. It always depends on the draw. Maybe they get unlucky in the quarters, but with a fair draw, they should be really among the last few teams standing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, we're getting some comments in. I want your comments, everybody, from this conversation. Write down right now your top 4. I know it's a lot of effort, okay? But just if you can, just type it, all right? I want to know. We all want to know what you all think. It can't just be Jimmy, James, and yours truly. And yes, I'm hearing no love for PSG. PSG gets a lot of love. I voted for them to win the whole thing at the very beginning. I am not so sure right now, but their biggest objective was just reach the knockout stages. But Jonathan Johnson, who covers this team every single day, has not been impressed. So why should we be impressed above somebody like Bayern, Ajax, Chelsea, Man City, and to Jimmy's point, Liverpool? All right, let's move on because we got some more games. Manchester United tied with Young Boys 1-0. Very rotated squad. Des Norris, I think you have the lineup on the screen. Rangnick was like, let me play some FIFA with this just because we've already qualified. But he did, Ronaldo was obviously rested because Man United obviously knew what they were doing. But this is the lineup right now. I can't even see it, Des Norris. But, if you can see it over in YouTube, let me maximize this. Oh, thank you, Des Norris. Dean Henderson, Wan-Bissaka, Van de Beek, Mata. I haven't seen Mata in a while. Wow. Elanga. Amazing. And Robbie Savage's son was on the bench, right, James Bench? I think.
Yeah, it was really lovely. I mean, obviously watching the broadcast here in the UK, Darren Fletcher, not that one, the commentator handed over to Robbie Savage to let him commentate on his son playing. For those that don't know, Savage had a great professional career, maybe not one that made him that popular with neutrals, but came through the class of 92 alongside the likes of Beckham, but the Nevilles, Scholes, those guys. But he never actually quite made the grades, understandably, with those players around him, to play a first-team game for Man United, as far as I'm aware. And for Charlie Savage to get to do that, I thought that was really special. Hoping as well that maybe Robbie's other child, maybe this is the start of the sort of Savage family. It'd be great, wouldn't it, if they all get those opportunities and Robbie didn't. Sorry, I'm an Arsenal fan.
Well, and I'm an Aston Villa fan, and he played for Birmingham City. So, yeah, I got my own problem. Jimmy Conrad, talk to me about this United side, by the way. They rested a lot of players, but this is kind of the good thing, right? I mean, Brave is the man who deprives Ronaldo of a chance to boost his Champions League numbers, right?
Yeah, that's very true. But I think Ralph Rangnick's obviously putting a stamp on things. Didn't even put those guys on the bench. And I think that really speaks to what he's trying to do, playing his younger players, seeing who he can trust, see who can handle the pressure and the spotlight. And I thought Mason Greenwood took his goal very, very well in this particular game. It's good to get minutes to Luke Shaw. Wan-Bissaka, I think, might be necessarily on the outs, but I don't know if he's necessarily going to be a first choice outside back under this system of Rangnick. So I'm curious about that. And then you give Mata some minutes. I wanted to say, what is he doing out there? Because he's like our age, like 45 years old, still out there doing his thing. But Van de Beek obviously made the mistake.
It's like your age. Me and Jimmy, yes.
Okay,
James,
fine.
James.
Okay, fine.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
But it was a good opportunity for some of these younger players to get their first real taste of the Champions League or get some real minutes under Rangnick. And then, of course, some key players like Bailly and Wan-Bissaka and Van de Beek to kind of prove why they should be in the first team under him. And can they adapt to this 4-2-2-2 system in a way that really sets up nicely? I actually thought that Matic, playing him at center back is obviously a bit of a risk, but I thought Lingard looked pretty good, finding some space between the lines, his turn and finding a pocket ultimately led to the first goal that Greenwood scored. They need more of that. I think that's going to be really pivotal in their kind of transformation from how they were playing into this new system. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot I think to take away from it. I think Rangnick probably learned a lot about certain players and who he wants to move and use moving forward.
Yeah, 3 points of a Champions League spot in the Premier League. So obviously they want to keep on rolling and rotate that squad as much as they can. By the way, Atalanta Villarreal is scheduled for Thursday, for tomorrow. Our courageous Jenny Chu there in the snow telling us, reporting as it'll be from 10:30 in the morning. Des will hopefully throw in an image so you can all see just how snowy it was at Bergamo. And, you know, Villarreal fans and Atalanta fans, I don't know, you could have played that. I thought it could have been fun. a pink, shiny ball.
They just did it World Cup qualifying in Canada, Mexico.
It reminds me of that. Do you guys remember there was a game in the Cup Winners' Cup in the year Chelsea won it, like 1998?
Oh, yes.
It was in Tromsø, Chelsea away, Arctic Circle, and it was genuinely like they were shoveling the snow mid-game.
Jorge Andres Flo literally went pink, I think. He was so cold.
Gianluca Vialli scored the winner with his posterior.
Well done.
I mean, I just think, you know, if these players play for the love of the game, then what could be more fun than playing for the love of the game in the snow?
Yeah. Jimmy, have you played in this weather, Jimmy? Have you ever played?
I did. I had a friendly against Greuther Fürth, who weren't in the top Bundesliga, then second Bundesliga, and it was ice underneath the snow, which was even worse. Oh. And we were all really upset that the game went forward because it was just a friendly. There was nothing at stake. It was a unique experience, and there was a lot of slipping and sliding all over the place. And yeah, I don't know. You can't really play a proper game in those types of conditions. So I'm glad they called it.
Yeah, no, it was tough. But anyway, it's for Thursday. Quick predictions on that one, I guess, if we want to do it again. I mean, I have my own thoughts. I feel like Atalanta, the home crowd, will be the biggest advantage. Villarreal have lost the last 3 against top flight opposition. Jimmy, thoughts on that game? Do you think Atalanta?
Yeah, I like Atalanta. I think there's a lot to play for. And then there's, of course, the obvious joke that Villarreal, the defending Europa League champions. So why do they want to play in the Champions League knockout rounds? They want to drop down and get third, baby, so they can go back and defend their title. Unai Emery,
they always like to play on Thursday nights, Jimmy Conrad.
Wildly successful on Thursday nights. Unai Emery, any team he's managing in that particular competition. But I think Atalanta on 11-game unbeaten streak, the fact that they've gotten results away from home against Napoli, getting one in Juventus and Turin for the first time in 30 years. Gasperini's got so many incredible attacking options at his disposal. Villarreal haven't scored more than 2 goals in a game since, I think, November 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. So if they're struggling scoring goals, and I know Gerard Moreno's back on the team, they're going to need more than 1 to get past this Atalanta team. They're going to need 2 or 3, and I just don't see that happening. I think Atalanta are going to get the better. I could see like a 3-1 Atalanta.
James? Benji? Oh, did he freeze? Did Benji freeze?
I like him this way. This is my favorite James Bench.
Just like the snow in Bergamo, James Bench froze, by the way. If you guys have any prediction watching Atalanta or Villarreal, please let us know what you think is going to happen. By the way, Duvan Zapata and Luis Muriel looked at that and they were like, we want nothing to do with that snow. James Bench is back. James, you froze like the pitch in Atalanta. Who do you think is going to win Atalanta against Villarreal?
Well, I mean, I'm expecting Unai Emery to just build a big snow wall in the goal just to keep the draw that his side will definitely play
like
for.
Game of Thrones
conditions. Yeah, I was thinking either that or, you know, that episode in The Simpsons where Mr. Burns and Homer are stuck in that mountain cabin and they imagine their own snowmen armies. Maybe just do that.
Yeah, true. All right. Well, listen, let's move on here, but let's talk a little bit about it's not usually we remove ourselves from the Champions League, but it's definitely worth talking about because it just came out today. Obviously, the fear of COVID and the pandemic and the new variant Omicron is seriously polluting the waves in Europe, including, of course, as well, the United Kingdom. And Tottenham meant to have a game against Rennes on Thursday in the Conference League. That's been postponed due to a COVID outbreak. Talk to us a little bit more about this, James Bench. You were there in the presser with Antonio Conte before the announcement, but it was obviously coming, right? James Bench froze again. He just keeps freezing. He keeps freezing like Atalanta Stadium.
His Wi-Fi's got COVID.
I know, but let me give you some news on that one because I do have a little bit of information. Tottenham's Oh, James, you back? See, this is what happens when you rely on just English talent. They just let you down every single time. COVID outbreak. 9 players are out due to COVID. 5 members of staff as well. Thank you, Des Norris, for that tweet. So, Jimmy, what do you make of this? Antonio Conte's Tottenham is out, but obviously Premier League scheduling as well is going to be tough here.
Yeah, this is a really interesting case. I mean, obviously more details are going to emerge as time goes on. I think the biggest thing, and we talked about this with Benj before we started rolling, was just the fear that was in the voice of Antonio Conte when he was talking about it at the press conference, that he seemed legitimately scared about what was happening and how everything was transpiring and not really having any answers. And I think that's probably what's most troubling. What do you do? Okay, you cancel the first game. It looks like the game on the weekend for Tottenham might be canceled as well. But how long do you let that stretch out? And what kind of precedent are you setting? Because over here, just to give it some contrast, over here in MLS, Philadelphia Union fell into the same trap in some ways, or however they got their little COVID outbreak. And 11 players had to miss the biggest game of the season, including tragedy. 6 starters in their best goalkeeper in the league, or one of the best goalkeepers, and Andre Blake, Jamaican international.
Yeah.
They have the luxury, at least for Tottenham, to, because it's a, they can move some things around, but for how long? Whereas MLS Cup playoffs said, no, you got to play. That's just how it is. So is this the new norm? What kind of precedent are we setting? There's a lot of unknown. I think all of us have a lot of questions, and I just don't know if there's a lot of answers as of yet.
Yeah, no, very good point, especially on Philadelphia. Got a feel for Jim Curtin. 1 game away from MLS Cup, and of course, all that hits. But to your point, and by the way, this happens in December because they were meant to play for now. Brighton on Sunday, then Leicester City the following Thursday, then Liverpool as well.
Big games, man.
Yeah, December 19th. It's a lot, by the way. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to come back to Barcelona, by the way, because I did want to talk to you, Jimmy, about Sergino Dest and kind of his future, I guess, or his fate. I was reading some stats in terms of participation. I don't know. I really want to know what you think. But we're going to take a break. On YouTube, that really means we're coming right back. On audio, it's a slightly longer break. But Qué Golazo Champions League recap. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, told you we're back. Jimmy Conrad in the house. Hopefully James Benj will join us. A few technical issues, but it's all right. We keep on rolling here. Listen, Jimmy, let's talk Barcelona once again and Sergino Dest. I'm a little worried about him in terms of, well, first of all, he definitely got, seen once again. It's not his fault. Obviously, there's a lot going on. But talk to me about Sergino Dest in Barcelona.
That's tough. I think the Barcelona situation is a project at this point. They are starting from square one in a lot of different ways under a new manager that wants to play a certain style that maybe they're not capable of. We saw Sergino Dest have a little bit of a dalliance playing at the winger position under Ronald Koeman. He had some successful games there where he was making a difference and getting around the corner and getting some good crosses in. I remember he assisted Sergio Aguero's goal not too long ago. But in this particular game, it was a matchup between him and Alphonso Davies. And given the way that Bayern is set up and how their system is set up, it really lends itself to putting Alphonso Davies in these isolated situations where he's got space in front of him. And that's not a good sign if you have Dest set up as a winger, which they did, because now you're asking him to track in a way that maybe that's not what Xavi wants from him. But then you have that pull as a player going, but I feel like I should follow him. And now you've got your balance is out of shape, or your team shape's out of whack. And now you've got Dest kind of doing half of 2 different things. So he's not really committed to one job or the other. And I think he just got isolated and they took him out at halftime. And that sucks. And now what's going to happen is in a month, Dani Alves is going to come in. He knows the system. He knows how he's going to play. And I fear that a 38-year-old might be replacing our American international on Barcelona, which hurts my soul. Now, I don't know. Sergino Dest, did he look lost? He looked a little bit lost. We saw him get eaten up by Mbappe last year in the Champions League as well. I don't think defending's his forte, so I don't know if he should be completely judged on that, but the Dest stuff is very interesting. I think we should keep an eye on it. Obviously, we want him to play as much as possible, but we also want him to succeed when he's playing, and I don't think we're seeing a lot of that consistently.
Would him leaving Barcelona help, do you think? Maybe
depends on where he goes.
Right. I was thinking the Bundesliga or even a Dutch team. I don't know. Returning to the Netherlands. It's not all his fault, right? It's sort of entering an already poisoned environment and him trying to figure himself out. But What do you make of it? Especially Barcelona need to make some money now that they're not in the Champions League knockout stages too. What do you make of that?
I guess with regard to his future, I don't know if there's any team. I mean, he came up through the Ajax system, so kind of falling into a team that possesses the ball. I mean, we've seen plenty of American players or other players that go to a team. Let's use Josh Sargent as an example. We want to stay on the American international thread. He gets to touch the ball a little bit more at Werder Bremen, in the Bundesliga, get a little bit more action, kind of can demonstrate what he can do on the ball. Then he goes to Norwich, which, yes, I can understand the pull of wanting to play in the Premier League. But at Norwich, he's just chasing around and high pressing for 89 minutes, hoping that something will fall his way. And it's just, are you really putting yourself in the best position to be really looked at and can be really show your skills and talents in a 360 view? Sure, dude, your work rate's incredible. We appreciate that. But since he's gone to Norwich, he doesn't even get called into the national team anymore. So he has to be regretting that decision in a number of different ways, because I'm sure he had other options. So I fear that for Dest, okay, you might go somewhere and you might get more playing time, but is it really going to showcase what you're capable of in a really meaningful way? I would personally stick it out with Barcelona. I would at least through the summer and kind of see what Xavi has in store for you. I would try to be around Dani Alves and absorb as much information from him as possible and try to grow from that. And hopefully that would help him take those extra steps to continue to evolve as a player.
I like it. By the way, I would love to know from everybody out there, where would Sergino Dest prosper the best? Staying at Barcelona, going somewhere else? And always, please, keep on liking the channel and subscribe and spread the word. Right, James Benj is back. James, listen, we were talking about Tottenham. We got some opinions, obviously, about the scheduling, which is not great. Obviously, Brighton meant to be this weekend, then Leicester City, and then Liverpool. Talk to me. We were talking about a little bit Antonio Conte. He looked a bit worried today in the presser, huh?
Yeah, sat in that. It was a very, very strange experience. Obviously, in the UK, we've briefly gone back to in-person press conferences, but that wasn't going to happen today. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg didn't join either because there's a real worry and fear around Tottenham. And, we've seen many emotions from Antonio Conte as Chelsea manager, Inter Milan manager. I'm not sure I've ever seen him give the impression that this is a person that's genuinely scared to be coming into work. We didn't get any confirmation as to whether this is related to the Omicron variant, which is obviously a big issue in the UK and the rest of the world right now. But it does seem like there is a real worry that this is sort of spreading more quickly than Tottenham can contain, which would suggest it's reflective of that. The number, I believe, has grown since, but as of this afternoon, it was 8 players, 5 members of staff. Spurs couldn't field a full lineup. The rules UEFA has in place is that if you have 13 members of your list A squad, you have to play. By the end, I think Spurs were down to 11 and weren't going to be able to fulfill this fixture. They won't be able to fulfill the game against Brighton at the weekend. And I think it's fair to doubt the Leicester game as well, which is even more of a problem because that Leicester game is one that you would look at and say, this could get postponed to make room for the Rennes game, which has to be played by December the 31st.
Yeah.
Spurs have got the Carabao Cup as well, and we all know what the English fixture list is like. I wonder if it might just slip into early January and UEFA might be able to be a bit flexible there. It took quite a lot to convince UEFA to postpone this game. I mean, but then I think in the end, a lot of that, when you were in the room with Conte, it all flew out the door. This is a person that was basically saying, look, I'm having to come in to a situation where I know that coronavirus is spreading rapidly, and then I'm going home every day, and I don't know who it will be next. They've been working on set pieces with the people they thought were fit, and then one other player tests positive at the end of the training session. It sounds like a really scary thing that I think maybe people like us haven't really experienced that much over the last 2 years, going into a place is full of COVID. So the right decision by UEFA. It's going to be tough for Tottenham in terms of the fixture list, but I think it's a sacrifice they just had to make.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we'll keep track on this one. And by the way, Liverpool suffered around the same time last year as well when they had, to throw in a lot of different players. And I don't know. It's an ongoing thing, obviously, and the pandemic affects everybody. But we're going to keep our track on that one. All right, let's come back to the Champions League. Group G, by the way, which was the American one. Well, the CONCACAF really as well, obviously. But it was also like the Oprah Winfrey gif, right? Hey, you get in. But in the end, Lille kept on rolling. Jonathan David, by the way, 14 goals in all competitions. Lille. I mean, I know JJ is happy, Jimmy, but Jonathan David, best striker in CONCACAF?
You'd have to throw him up there for sure. I mean, on their day when they're feeling it, I think, we have a shout for Ricardo Pepi. I'm always going to give him some love, and Raul Jimenez, of course. But yeah, Jonathan David, probably the best number 9, even though he didn't start against Mexico in that Azteca game. They went with Kyle Larin instead. But even when he comes on as a sub, he did it over the weekend. They didn't start him. He comes on and he scores. You're like, yeah, this guy is on fire. I wonder how much longer he's going to stay at Lille. But fair play to the French club. They've really turned it around. That's now 8 games unbeaten. They're starting to find that form. I wish they were counting on Timothy Weah a little bit more to be involved, but hopefully that will come in time and he'll get some chances in the knockout rounds. But for them to win this group, which was wide open, is very impressive, because I think all of us probably had Sevilla slated to win it. So for Sevilla to drop to third, so many draws for them in this particular group, with 3 draws out of 6. They just missed some opportunities. I thought they were going to do the business again today, or at least kind of show up and say, all right, let's get serious now. No more reindeer games with the kids, okay? We're going to go out there and do the business against RB Salzburg. And Salzburg were out there. Nice professional performance for a bunch of young players. And it's quite ironic in some ways that RB Salzburg is into the knockout rounds and not RB Leipzig, but here we are. Here we are.
Yeah, Benj?
Yeah, just hopping back onto that Jonathan David talk. I know for a fact that one of the very many teams that are interested in him is Arsenal. And I mean, you look at someone that the sort of striker they need who can do a bit of everything. And that is someone like David, can play make a bit, has really developed into a top finisher. So I'm sure, Arsenal fans will be very excited about interest in him. And they've done business with Lille before, as Des says. When has a Lille to Arsenal transfer ever gone badly? Well, Gabriel was quite good though. This has been a real, the two teams that go through so much verve and talent in their attack. We mentioned Weah and David, but I mean, Angel Gomez was great today, I thought as well. Jonathan Ikone, who, from what our own Fabrizio Romano reports, he's probably not going to be there for the knockout stages, but what a way to say goodbye. I thought that assist for Yilmaz was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And then over in Salzburg, Adeyemi, who I mentioned at the top, fantastic player who can do it all across the front line. And Noah Okafor, I have to say, I didn't know much about him at all, but he's really come through this tournament. I love his late runs into the box. Salzburg, the thing with them, until the last minute, I just doubted that they had that battle-hardened experience, that winner's mentality that you thought a team like Sevilla would have. They romp the Austrian league every season, and they lose some of their best, most experienced players every season. So I think it will be a culture shock for them going into the knockout stages. And, dependent on the draw, it could be something really tough for them. But this will clearly, this will help attract more players next year. It will help develop them into a team that believes every season that they'll go into the group stages and come out of them and reach the knockout stages. I'm really pleased for Salzburg. They've been so good for so long, and richly deserved this.
Yeah, I think that to Benja's point, not only is it impressive from an RB Salzburg viewpoint, because, a couple seasons ago they had Erling Haaland, then they had Patson Daka, and they have to keep replacing, especially players up top. Dominic Szoboszlai is another one. And now, when they get into the knockout round, it becomes an advertisement for them and these players in particular to showcase why they should be purchased, and I think RB Salzburg wants that. So all of a sudden, if you've got Salzburg taking on a Manchester City, holy crap. I mean, they're going to have all their eyes on them. So you have this Karim Adeyemi, the 19-year-old who has been fantastic. He leads the Austrian league in goals. He leads the team in goals. He had an assist today to Noah Okafor, who again is another player that people should be keeping their eye on. Brendan Aronson, from a men's national team standpoint, will get a good opportunity to be seen and by scouts that maybe aren't paying attention as much. I will say that most scouts are probably paying attention to RB Salzburg, but there are probably some other ones that I don't have time for that. But when they get out there and they perform against the Man City per se, and I actually think that RB Salzburg turned heads on match day 1 against Sevilla when they went in there and took it to Sevilla. They got like 15 penalty kicks in that game, and they only scored 1 of them, and it was a 1-1 draw, but they deserved more from that. So I like what's happening here, and I actually think they're not going to be easy to beat over 2 legs, but they're probably going to run into one of the big boys, and it should be interesting to see how they do.
It should be very interesting. All right, let's quickly move on here to Group H, by the way. And then we were thinking, well, Chelsea against Zenit, even though they're away and it's cold, they should be okay. But my goodness, I mean, Magomed Ozdoyev decides to give us some quadruple entertainment with wowing us, equalizing for Zenit. and then putting Juventus up top, and then just scoring an absolute screamer, and Juventus winning 1-0 against Malmo. Juventus, by the way, were dreadful. I just want to say that right now. Like, they topped the group, but they were terrible. So, so it says a lot. So Thomas Tuchel must be like so angry, James Benj, about the fact that they didn't top the group in the end, then conceded 3 goals once again.
Oh yeah, he was fuming by all accounts in his press conference. Far from impressed, and I know he'd said in our interview with him before the Juventus game, he was like, not getting carried away at that stage because obviously they had to beat Juve, but he was like, I would quite like to finish top. It does actually help more than people think.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, from a Chelsea perspective, I haven't seen such woeful defending since last night in the Ashes. Cricket fans will know what I'm talking about from an England perspective.
I do, my friend. Don't worry.
Yeah, it was incredibly grim. I'm not looking forward to more of that tonight. It's a great advert for someone like Antonio Rudiger. Malang Sarr looked like a player who no one at Chelsea would trust to play regularly. Christensen looked like a player who doesn't really want to be there. Debatable. And I think, that midfield, we knew it wasn't going to be very strong. And whilst Reece James was good, considering, I thought Ross Barkley, he's not a player for a 2-man pivot. It was, what I find really sad though, Timo Werner had a fantastic game where, so many times we go, oh God, Timo, you've cost Chelsea again. And it's sort of this time he goes and saves them on multiple occasions.
And they
let him down at the other end. It's more of the heartbreaking ballad of Timo, I have to say.
Yeah. But Jimmy, Pulisic got an assist.
He did get an assist, and I'm excited for him. I think what's troubling from a Chelsea perspective is just how casual they've been in giving up leads. Anytime they'd gone up before, that was it. If Chelsea, a Thomas Tuchel managed team, or in this particular instance with Chelsea, went up, it was curtains. You had no chance of getting back in. Everything was suffocated. They were going to lock it down. They didn't care if they played ugly. They were just going to go get the result. And I feel like they've lost that a little bit for whatever reason. Is it due to injury? Is it due to personnel? Is it due just to normal kind of wear and tear on these players, both mentally and physically, with regard to having to play at that level for a long period of time? I don't know. But their schedule, I don't think, is too hard, and Benj can talk about it over the break. But it's still got to play the games once every 3 days or something crazy. So I'm curious to see how he's going to manage that. Them going into the second seed is very interesting because they could pull a Bayern Munich, which would be devastating, I think, for them to draw a Bayern Munich that early in the knockout rounds. But at some point, they're defending champions. You're gonna have to play good teams, and you have to beat the best to be the best. I do like, though, what Benj said, that some of their bench players didn't really perform today, and they had an opportunity to kind of take it with both hands, very similar to what Manchester United, some of those players had. And I actually remember talking about after match day 5, how thrilled I was at how all the English teams won. They did it in really fine fashion. They were in complete control. And then I see match day 6, and I'm like, Man City doesn't look that great, and Chelsea doesn't look like a team that wants to win this competition. So I don't know. It's interesting. And I know they made some changes or whatever, but these teams put a lot of money into their team to be good in multiple competitions. And I didn't think their depth showed up today for Chelsea.
Yeah, no, that's right. Benj, I don't know if you wanted to add anything before we moved on, but match day 6 is deceiving a little bit because I think maybe, especially for English teams trying to sandwich their December schedule. It's kind of the same thing I've been saying about PSG. Just get to the knockout stages and everything else will be fine and dandy.
But if you look, I know we're about to come on to this. If you look at the teams Chelsea were in line to draw and look at, they only have like 4 teams I think they can draw now.
Well, my friends, let's go there right now. The round of 16 pots and permutations. Obviously, Villarreal facing Atalanta, still waiting for that one. But pot 1, Manchester City, Liverpool. And everybody watching, please chime in. I would love to hear your thoughts as well. We're getting some great comments today. Like and subscribe. But we got Man City, Liverpool, Ajax, Real Madrid, Bayern, Manchester United, Lille, and Juventus. That's pot 1. Pot 1 is pretty sexy. Pot 2, PSG, Atleti, Sporting, Inter, Benfica, Villarreal or Atalanta, Salzburg, Chelsea. So, all right. So, okay, let's do this. Jimmy, pot 1, Man City, Liverpool, Ajax, Real Madrid, Bayern, Man United, Lille, Juventus. Out of all that, who do you not want to play?
Oh, I wouldn't want to play Liverpool or Bayern Munich. I think
your top 2 right there.
Yeah, those top 2 would be easy. You don't want to face those 2 right now.
Benj?
Yeah, probably with Jimmy there. I think with City, you've always got that thing of is Pep going to overcomplicate things? I think Liverpool, the other two are just an utter machine. I'm not fancying Bayern at all. Yeah, those three to me are probably at a slightly different level to the rest of the teams in that pot. But otherwise, yeah, as we've said, Ajax and Real Madrid don't look too fun either. I'm praying. I am, crossing everything I've got. Please, dear God, give me a draw against Juventus because they are rubbish.
They were terrible today. I'm just going to say that right now. Well, pot 2 then. PSG, Atleti, Sporting, Inter, Benfica. Yeah, to your point, Salzburg, Chelsea. I mean, when you're looking at that pot 2, who's the strongest out of all of them, Jimmy?
Pot 2?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna get some people in the chat going, it's got to be PSG, but I think Chelsea, right? I mean, they're the defending champions.
Yeah,
they would be my choice, and I think over 2 legs in particular, Thomas Tuchel is very good in these types of cup competitions, and I don't think this is going to be any different. I think he's could mastermind another good run, but if they continue to perform like they've been playing over this last week or two, you just don't know. I mean, we're still 2 months out from seeing how they're gonna be and what kind of form they're in and who's injured and who's not. But I wouldn't want to face Chelsea.
I feel like a lot of teams will raise their game against PSG as well, and a lot of teams might just really enjoy, the opportunity to play against the team where 3 players aren't really defending. As I've said, I've got my fingers crossed for Ajax, PSG. Jimmy's right. Chelsea are definitely the hardest team in that pot. I think one that I would say is could be a bit of a problem. They've been really bad against Ajax, but Sporting, when they've been good, have been fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
Pedro Gonçalves, looks like the real deal. Pretty solid midfield. I know they're not, not a team riven with superstars, and with the wrong draw, they could lose quite heavily. But I think, if they got a Man United, if they got a Real Madrid, I think they'd be playing without fear and could give those teams a mighty tough game. Inter as well. They created a lot of good goal scoring opportunities in this tournament. There's no bad teams in this last 16. We know that, but it does feel like there are a lot of good teams in pot 2 this year. Whereas sometimes, there's like half of them. You're like, yeah, I'll take them. Unless Villarreal get in, of course, because they are also bad.
Yeah. The key obviously will be, especially for pot 2, right, is that first leg, making sure you do everything that you can at home to protect something. Don't concede too much, or obviously don't concede, but if you do, please keep it tight, etc., etc. All right, listen, let's do one final game, everybody. Go back to August or September or whatever it was, and remember your original pick to win the whole thing. Has it changed already? Has it changed again? If you were to tell me a final, perhaps, of the Champions League as we wrap the group stage, is it completely different? Is it maybe a little bit the same? Jimmy Conrad, what say you, my friend? What was it way back in time?
I remember what I said. I remember having Chelsea.
My winner. The final account. I remember the winner. I don't know.
I have Chelsea winning the Premier League. I don't think they're going to go back to back in Europe. So I would say, I believe I went with Bayern Munich to win the Champions League, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. The final, I don't even remember, but I would love to see Bayern Munich versus Liverpool in the final. I think that would be a really thrilling 90 minutes, even though most finals get a little tight and maybe not as fun as we want. But that would be a pretty incredible final to see 2 teams at the top of their game with some of the world's best players.
I mean, I think I went for Chelsea to win because that's the sort of clever clogs thing I would do of picking a repeat winner when that's so hard to do. I certainly think the things that I've taken away from the group stage is that we were all a bit too high on PSG, and that we just trusted talent to work it out when the signs are it's not. And also, if I was predicting a final now, I think partly just letting my heart lead the way a little bit, I think I'd have Ajax in that final. It will all depend on the draw. And when we get to the quarterfinals, we'll see, and we can do our brackets and all that.
Yeah, William, you're correct. No away goals anymore. It's been scrapped for this season, so that's out the window. But there is still a home advantage and an away, situation as well. I think, in my opinion, just psychologically speaking, that's not massive, but it's definitely something. My original choice to win it all was PSG, but it wasn't because I think they're going to win it. It was more like, if you don't win it, you're a disgrace. But I don't know if I'm completely against them winning it. Obviously, there are complications just the way that they've been doing, but I don't know, man. Bayern Munich are so good. But to your point, James, I want to see what they do against Bayern Munich. Liverpool would be amazing. That would just be like hell, like amazing rock and roll style soccer football in that final. I love it. All right. Well, that's it, everybody. That is our Champions League group stage recap. We got Atalanta Villarreal tomorrow, so make sure that you tune in on that on Paramount Plus. But Jimmy Conrad, thank you, brother. Any final words before we say goodbye?
No, this Champions League group stage did not disappoint, and I can't wait for the draw on Monday. It is going to be unbelievable, and I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. But just remember my conspiracy theory, everybody. Manchester United versus PSG in the round of 16.
I love it.
Messi, Ronaldo.
I love it. James Bench?
Yeah, I mean, what a Champions League group stage this was. I think if anyone had said that a flop West Ham striker would have been the standout player of the Champions League group stages, I don't think people would even have picked Sebastian Haller. People would have been saying, "Oh, is Simone Zaza playing?" For Juventus
exactly.
now?"
Or did Andy Carroll somehow get himself into? Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Carroll's back at Liverpool. Didn't see that one coming. Yeah, it's been really fantastic, and I think we've set the stage for a very, very good round of 16. If we can ever get it all done, if we can finally get that Atalanta Villarreal game played, and if Jenny Chu can actually make it back in time.
Let's hope so, Jenny. Stay warm, and let's hope so. And by the way, we got the weekend preview coming up, and on the Champions League draw day, by the way, we're going to do a live watch of the Champions League. James Bench is going to join. We're going to have some guests. Jimmy Conrad, if you take yourself away from HQ, you're always welcome. Of course, it's very early for Jimmy Conrad, but he never sleeps. He's a man that always works, so we can see there. But we have so much content, so make sure that you stay tuning in with us. I'm tired, everybody. Okay, it's a long day, but thank you so much. Champions League Que Golazo is over. Don't forget to follow us on Que Golazo Pod, Jimmy Conrad on Twitter, James Bench on Twitter, LM Echegaray. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, and we will see you next time. Have a great evening.